A $2 super chat from Amir, the Lions fan. Do you think the Lions go get a pass rusher or a corner? I would not be surprised. Al-Quadi Muhammad has been a revelation for the Lions, for a guy that was out of football, essentially. Didn't make the Cowboys roster, now having an incredible season. I think, and this is kind of like pipe dreamy, the ideal outcome for Detroit is I would love to find someone who's a bigger-bodied edge to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. I would love to find someone that, in the Cam Jordan mold, although maybe not Cam Jordan himself, who can be a base-setting edge and then kick inside on third downs. Tyreek Williams, DJ Reader are not elite pass rushers. Aleem McNeil's return is pretty impactful there. But if you have to settle for a speedier edge rusher, I would not complain there. And then given the sheer volume of injuries in the secondary this Lions team has faced, which is unbelievable. Look, I'll be honest, I have no life. It takes a lot for me to be like, who the hell is that guy? I don't know who Eric Hallett is. That one was a deep cut and was out there starting for the Lions and got run over, I think it was on the first play of the game. Secondary piece, they'll get Brian Branch back from suspension. That matters. I think Lions adding defensive help is honestly almost a must move because they have as good of a shot as anybody to win the NFC. $5 from William Cook says, Jerry won't trade 2 firsts, not because it is not worthy of it. This is in reference to the Maxx Crosby trade rumors that have been out there, but because it's a tacit admission he shouldn't have traded Micah. A lot of Cowboys fans didn't like the idea that Mitch and I had collaborated 2 firsts for Maxx Crosby plus maybe some change. I am of the mindset in general, if you were going to be able to essentially flip, Micah Parsons into Maxx Crosby and Kenny Clark and extra salary cap space, that's actually not bad at all. That's actually probably a win for the Cowboys. But I think the Raiders don't want to trade Maxx Crosby. That's why the asking price that we came up with was so high, because he's really good at football, and the Raiders don't want to do that. I would be a little surprised in the end if the Cowboys flip 2 1s. They love their draft picks so much. Maybe if it was a bit less than that, but I would be. I don't think it happens anyway, but it was fun. D. White the Gamer, who do you believe the Broncos should trade for? I know some Broncos fans don't like the wide receiver 2 spot, which I get. I don't know if Jalen Waddle's actually available, although that'd be so much fun for Sean Payton. I think a lot of this for Denver kind of comes down to what version of Bo Nix do you get? You get the first 3 quarters against the Giants, Bo Nix, you're kind of in trouble. You get the 4th quarter version of Bo Nix, shit, you might win every game this year. You'll get Dre Greenlaw back from his suspension, which refs aren't people, so should he have been suspended? I don't see a ton of massive glaring holes on this Denver team. I think it's, can you get more out of Nix right now? I do worry a little bit at times about the interior of that offensive line, but not a lot of great guards and centers and whatnot who end up being available. So maybe, can you get a receiver? Is Jacoby Myers on the block? That might be enough of a little boost as you wait for potential breakouts from Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims beyond just kind of a gadgety guy. Connor, Trey Hendrickson trade odds. Apologies for the sniffles. I would say extremely low. I think that, I never really thought they were going to trade him. As bad as it was, they were going to harbor hope. When they made the move for Flacco, it was okay, this is a team that doesn't want to roll over and die. You're not going to trade for a quarterback and then get rid of your best pass rusher. And then you went out and you beat the Steelers, thanks not really very much to your defense that allowed 31 points and wasn't getting very many pressures. You're going to get Hendrickson back in theory this week. Now you got to feel like we can go push and hold the fort down until Burrow comes back. So I think they're pretty low. Lose the Jets, we can revisit next week, and we will revisit next week if they lose. So what will the Bengals do with Trey Hendrickson? T for trade, K for keep. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. From Cobb, nope, which might be something spelled backward, but I'm not actually sure. I doubt it. In a hypothetical trade, a first, a third, and DaRon Bland for Crosby, I think the Raiders would love that deal. I would be a little surprised if the Cowboys did it because they literally just paid him. The Raiders still might be looking for a little bit more because I don't think they want to trade Maxx Crosby either. But I will say this. I appreciate you giving up value here. I saw a lot of trade ideas of a second and Sam Williams, which, like, come on, that doesn't move the needle at all. The biggest issue the Cowboys would run into is, well, I guess they wouldn't really lose any money by trading away Bland, but they wouldn't save any. So they're just kind of like, wasting $5 million this year and $17 million next year. It's not necessarily ideal for them on that front. But I do appreciate you giving up a good player to make something happen. And that's not always – it's like a lot of bad fantasy trades in my mentions these days. From Carol, not in HR, what other moves do you see the Eagles making return of Brandon Graham? I hope Carol understands the joke since it is always sunny in Philadelphia reference there. I think cornerback. Like that should probably be what they're trying to pursue if they can find one. Probably a little bit easier said than done. Like if I were Philadelphia, I'd be pushing pretty hard for Tariq Woolen right now. It seems to be on the outside looking in. I know he played against Monday Night Football, but there were injuries there. I don't want to keep doing the Adoree Jackson Keely Ringo experiment if I were the Eagles. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. So that's what I'd be calling about. Like, I'd be shopping, trying to get another corner and, getting Jackson, Ringo, whatever off the field, letting it be Mitchell, DeJean, and you have some money if you want to spend the defense there. I think corner is the obvious target. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. You can now follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab. PrizePicks also offers stacks. So, for example, if you wanted to go more than Saquon Barkley, rushing yards, receiving yards, and touchdowns, you could do that. Shout out to producer Aiden, PrizePicks lineup is Saquon revenge touchdown, Aaron Rodgers revenge passing yards against Green Bay, Jordan Love more than passing attempts. Go download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. From the aptly named Bears Williams, any players for the Bears to trade for in terms of pass rushers? He also mentioned someone like Jalen Phillips. If I were a pass rush needy team, I'm calling the Jets and the Dolphins first, like of the realistically available names, and going, what do you want for Jermaine Johnson? Maybe a Will McDonald's available. What do you want for Jalen Phillips? What about Bradley Chubb? And if the prices aren't right there, I can pivot back to okay, what's the cost for an Arden Key over in Tennessee? Do you want to do the rehab path with a Tyree Wilson in Las Vegas? Chicago getting one more pass rusher would be nice. I'd also say offensive line, but it's really hard to find offensive line in October / early November, so I wouldn't get my hopes up there. Edge, I think, could very well be possible. From Moggs, Derrick Henry has about a year or two left max. How do you feel about Breece Hall getting traded to the Ravens as insurance and failure in the future back to avoid developing a drafted running back? Well, here's the issue. Short term, I think that makes some sense. Breece Hall is the best insurance possible. I don't know if you need the insurance. Derrick Henry's still averaging 5 yards per carry this year, which is more than what he averaged in Tennessee up until 2020, or back until 2020. I think there's a real chance that Derrick Henry is just the exception the same way Adrian Peterson was, where even though he is beyond his prime as a running back age-wise, he should have, at his workload, he should have been cooked 4 years ago, and he's not. He might be the exception. Now, I actually don't mind drafting a running back because I think you can develop those guys kind of quickly. I don't mind that being the path that the Ravens end up pursuing, because the big issue with Breece Hall is he's going to be a free agent. So if you're trading for Breece Hall, you're going to pay him or let him walk, and then, or is this the year to have insurance, 4th round pick, 5th round pick, whatever, at the backfield spot? And are you going to pay Hall and Henry? I'm not so sure. From Marty, how about a Calvin Ridley trade? Giants or Steelers, maybe? Man, Calvin Ridley's in a really weird spot where he has not played well this year. How much of that was the offense's fault? Just in general, I don't know. I had pretty high hopes for Calvin Ridley, like being impactful. And he was against the Cardinals. 5 catches, 131 yards. He's got 16 for 290 in total this season. Like, he just hasn't been impactful. He's also a little bit expensive. Let me double check my math here and make sure I'm not reading it off incorrectly. Contract-wise, and they'll be prorated figure, just like depending on when they trade him exactly. He's at $22.5 million this year. So cut that number in half roughly. Who wants to pay $10, $11, $12 million for a receiver of Calvin Ridley's caliber for half a season? I think there might be some issues there unless Titans eat the money, which maybe they do. Maybe they do. Giants, I actually don't hate that fit. It's just like he's 31 years old now. Like, he's been inconsistent. There's some downside there. Name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Name a player who you think ends up getting dealt. Eric Simmons, will the Dolphins move on from Tua after this season? I think that they might. I also would not be surprised at all. I'm going to double check my math here on the fly again. The issue that the Dolphins face is this would be pretty darn similar to the Russell Wilson path, where it is doable, but it blows. If they were to cut Tua and they'd make him a post-June 1st cut, it's a $67 million dead cap charge in 2026. And it's 31.8 in 2027. That blows. It's $99 million in dead cap. And that is in large part because I think his 2026 salary is already guaranteed. Let me double check that. Maybe it's not. Oh, yeah, it is. It is guaranteed already. It had rolling guarantee structures. But I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they did it. Because, like, if they're just going to be bad, who cares? At that point, like, just be bad, play Quinn Ewers for a year, and rebuild with a new regime. So it's expensive, but yeah, I would not be surprised if the Dolphins moved on. It's kind of getting to that point. If you want to be a part of future NFL mailbags, hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. We're live once a week, plus watch parties, red zone, and more. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. We're free, and we always will be here at Chat Sports. So appreciate everyone who has already subscribed. CGW, available linebackers for Dallas. Wouldn't be shocked if Jerry just says, we're going to get DeMarvion Overshown back. It's fine. We don't have to do anything there. You could call, is Devin Bush in a resurgent year available with the Browns? Would the Dolphins ship out Jordan Brooks? He's a bit expensive. I could see Logan Wilson being available. He's kind of been phased out a little bit with the Bengals, also a team captain, so give and take on that area. I don't know if Quincy Williams is truly available with the Jets, and I also don't know how it would be if how Quinn would feel about the brother trade, but I think those are names to at least consider on that front. And also, no Micah reunion there, bud. Sorry. Mr. Donks, I think the Rams trade for anybody. I'm going to go with no, actually. And normally I always give the hope of a possible trade there. I think they'd be a great fit for Tariq Woolen, but I don't think the Seahawks are going to trade him in division necessarily. Corner still stands out as an area of concern to me. Not a ton of great corners available, I don't think, right now. I also think for the Rams, I think they've done and I give them credit for this, I think they've done a really good job of, balancing things. They can be aggressive if they want. They don't have to. They have 2 first-round picks next year, and this might be Matt Stafford's last season. They might be okay keeping all them picks. From Tina, should the Browns trade David Njoku? Would not be opposed to it. How they juggle their love of 2 tight end personnel if they were to trade away Njoku. They obviously have Harold Fannin as a long-term piece, but Blake Whiteheart does not really move the needle for you. But I think Fannon's the future at tight end. So if you can get an asset back, I would not mind that at all. Give me your trade ideas in the comments section of today's show. Let me know in the comments of today's video. Keep them realistic, please, but let me know what your trade ideas are. 70s born, 90s swag. Vikings trade for Jeffery Simmons. Honestly, I kind of like what the Vikings are getting out of their defensive line play. They invested a decent amount, relatively speaking, in Jonathan Allen, in Javon Hargrave. Both those guys, of course, play that in that 3-4-ish front. They play that the same role Jeffery Simmons would end up playing for them. I know Allen has been maybe a bit of a disappointment, same with Hargrave, but I think Jalen Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez have been not household names at all, but very good players for Minnesota. I maybe could always go back to go to the corner well again if you wanted to, and stop him to give real snaps to occasional snaps, I should say, to Jeffrey Okudah and playing 3 safeties all the time. But I don't know if defensive tackle is where I would pursue for the Vikings side.